Hi, hello and welcome back to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and our journey through the history of Formula 1 continues today with the 5th round of the 1959 season, the British Grand Prix. It was held on the 18th of July, it had 30 entries, 24 of them took part in the race with 11 retiring. The race consisted of 75 laps completed in 2 hours, 30 minutes and 11 seconds. Jack Brabham started the race from pole with Salvadori in 2nd, Charles 3rd, Trintignant 4th and Gregory 5th. Brabham drove a spectacular race to win the British Grand Prix. Stirling Moss finished in 2nd, 22.2 seconds later. Bruce McLaren crossed the line in 3rd, 22.4 seconds after Brabham. Harry Schell finished in 4th and was 1 lap down, whilst Trintignant rounded off the top 5 and was also 1 lap down. 1 minute 57 flat was the fastest lap and it was shared between Stirling Moss and Bruce McLaren. We return to entry for this year's British Grand Prix, where a lap starts off with a relatively short run down into turn 1, a medium speed right-hander. Be very careful on the exit as there is a wall there and it's quite easy to crash into it. Turn 2 is next, a tight right-hander. Careful not to hit the fence gates, lest you want to end your race early. Turn 3 is a tight left-hander. Take it easy and don't use too much power. The car will easily swap ends here. Turn 4 is pretty much the same as turn 3, although it's not as tight. Turn 5 is next. This is a medium speed right-hander. Hug the corner, be patient and you should be alright. Next comes turn 6, a long medium speed right-hander. It starts off a bit tight but opens up really quickly, so get back on the power as soon as you can. This brings us on to the longest straight on the track, which ends with a double chicane. Be very careful coming into the first chicane as you'll pass through a gate and it's easy to clip the fence post. The second chicane is a bit easier, although you should watch out for the wall on the exit. Finally, we come into the last corner of the lap, a slow to medium speed right-hander that brings us back around onto the main straight, and that is a lap around the Aintree circuit. And here we are in qualifying for the British Grand Prix. It's raining like mad and we crossed the line in 2 minutes 13.795 seconds, and this is the only lap I managed to put in because, well, the car became really unresponsive after this. The track was very wet and I saw no real reason. I probably wouldn't have been able to go any faster, so that's the end of our qualifying, and those were the previous British Grand Prix winners. Thankfully we ourselves won a couple of times around here, but here we have the grid walk and we see Jack Brabham on pole with Tony Brooks in 2nd. Maurice Trintignant is sitting in 3rd with Stirling Moss in 4th, followed by Phil Hill in 5th. Maston Gregory is 6th, then we have Joe Bonnier in 7th. Dan Gurney is in 8th with Bruce McLaren in 9th. 10th is Harry Schell, followed by Innes Ireland in 11th and Olivier Gendebien in 12th. 13th is Jean Berra, followed by Ronald Flockhart in 14th. 15th is Roy Salvadori, Cliff Ellison 16th. Andy Higgs is down in 17th, followed by Ian Burgess in 18th. 19th is Carroll Shelby and Graham Hill is starting from 20th. So that's the grid lineup for the British Grand Prix. We are starting from the back. Quite unfortunate, but you saw the weather. It was very bad. It was actually monsoon weather. Although we are in Britain, I don't really know how that happens. I know there's bad weather in Britain, but that's a bit too much, I'd say. Anyway, that was a rather slow start, although we did manage to climb into 15th as we come into turn 1 here. And then Ronald Flockhart managed to take 15 away from us. I even kind of hit him a bit there. Luckily he is fine. But we move back into 15th before Ian Burgess in the McLaren there takes 16th. Then Dan Gurney in the Ferrari takes 7th. Drops us down into 17th, and we saw a Ferrari at the side of the track there. Here is a replay of the start. Quite a hectic little start. People banging wheels left, right and center. Not the ideal situation, but it can happen as we come through turn 1 here. There it is. The moment when I kind of hit oh, I forgot who it was. But anyway, it looks like he was fine as we now come into turn 2, and there goes Dan Gurney overtaking us in his red Ferrari. Here's a replay of Cliff Allison losing control of his number 4 Ferrari. He saves it, but then crashes into the fence at the side of the road there, and obviously he is out of the race. Next we have Dan Gurney losing control of his Ferrari, flipping it upside down, and well, obviously he is out of the British Grand Prix as well. Next we see Jack Brabham in his Cooper Climax losing control of his car, and I have no idea what he's trying to do, but he avoids a collision with his fellow Cooper driver and then gets stuck on the fence. Here we see Carroll Shelby losing control of his Aston Martin through the second chicane, crashes into the wall, loses his front left, and he is out of the Grand Prix. And finally we have Jean Berra, who at the end of the lap comes into the pits to retire. As we now move on to lap 2, we move up into 5th. There's Gendebian right behind us in his Ferrari, and as we come through turn 3 here, he manages to overtake us, and then promptly someone else in a Cooper manages to overtake us as well, but promptly loses control of the car, and that's the end. Here we see Ian Burgess losing control of his Ferrari through turn 1, crashing into the wall there. Very easy to do, and he's out of the race. Next we have Tony Brooks, who loses control of his Ferrari, then gets collected by a British car, not sure who it was, and towards the end of the lap we see Joe Bonnier losing control of his BRM, and then a Cooper and Lotus slide into him. He loses his front left and he is out. As we now move on to lap 3, chasing after Maston Gregory, who is just 1.5 seconds up ahead. We can actually see him. He loses control through turn 5, I believe this is, and we move into the lead of the British Grand Prix already. So the AA is really struggling on the circuit. This is Phil Hill coming into the pits to retire his car, not entirely sure why. And this is Gendebian, who somehow got stuck behind the wall. He's not on the track. He's trying to get back onto the track, but is kind of unable to. And here we speed up the footage to see him kind of somehow get back onto the track. However, he flipped his car upside down and he's out. And this is Harry Schell losing control of his BRM, crashing into a fellow BRM, losing his front left, and he is out. Then we have Roy Salvadori in his Aston Martin coming around through the second part of the chicane. The second chicane even, crashes into the wall on the exit there, loses his front left, and he is out. As we move on to lap 4, we've built a gap of around more than half a minute to Maston Gregory, so we are doing quite well. And here is a replay of Bruce McLaren, who loses control of his Cooper through turn 2 here, then tries to get back onto the track. Unfortunately, he ends up flying off the map, and that's the end of his race. And as we now move on to lap 5, and what follows are a series of people who haven't retired, although they have been lapped a lot of times. I just wanted to show you what happened and why they've been lapped so many times, with one exception, Maston Gregory, who I couldn't find whatever happened to him, it was off screen, so I couldn't show you. But anyway, this is Innes Ireland doing the same thing as Bruce McLaren, although he doesn't retire, quite interestingly enough. But so that's what happens there. And this is Maurice Trintignant doing the exact same thing, and these people haven't retired, they were just lapped way too many times. As we come around to finish lap 5 here, Graham Hill is not right behind us, he is 1.5 minutes behind us, so that was a back marker we saw in the mirrors there. But anyway, we now come around to finish the 25th lap of the race to take the win here. Not very spectacular, that was quite easy to be honest, but I guess we've come to expect this by now. And here are the race results. The only other person to have completed 90% of race distance was Graham Hill. And here are all the retirements. Ronald Flockhart, who wasn't classified, Moss wasn't classified, and well, everyone else. And once again, a pretty bad race. Only 2 people managed to finish out of 20, so that's nothing to write home about. But I guess that's how things will go this season. Anyway, let's move on. Here are the career statistics, and this was Andy's 81st Grand Prix. His best start is from first, has 4 pole positions, has set 15 fastest laps. His best finishes in first, has completed 56 races, 48 of them in the points, has won 31 Grand Prix, 4 at the Indianapolis 500, 5 in Monaco, has 6 championships under his belt, has scored a total of 334 points, has retired 25 times, has experienced 1,880 out of 2,281 laps, has 5 bronze trophies, 7 silver trophies, 31 gold trophies, and as an extension, 31 podiums. And here is a quick look at the championship standings. Andy is leading the championship by a full 10 points. Graham Hill is in second. Third is contested by Bruce McLaren and Maurice Tintignan, whilst 5th place is occupied by Ian Burgess. The last person to score points is Dan Gurney, who is down in 12th, whilst Cliff Allison is at the very bottom of the standings. So that's the Drivers' Championship. Let's move on to the Constructors, where we have Porsche leading the championship with Lotus in second, Maserati and Cooper Climax sharing third, whilst Aston Martin are in 5th. So that was the British Grand Prix. Quite a disappointing race, like pretty much most of the races this season and in the previous season as well. So not quite sure what's going on there, but these 2 seasons are probably one of the worst seasons of this decade, which is quite, well, interesting for lack of a better term. Anyway, our next race is the German Grand Prix, this time for real. I'm sorry for the mess up last time. I have no idea how that happened because I was actually looking at the season calendar and I still somehow messed it up. I'm sorry for that. Sorry for the confusion. But this time we do in fact go to the German Grand Prix, which will be held at Avus, as I said. Interesting little track near Berlin. The circuit is actually built on the Autobahn, which is quite interesting, so we'll see how things go once we get there. But anyway, that is the end of the British Grand Prix, the end of this video. Pretty bad race, as you've seen. 2 people finishing is not a good race in my book. Although, well, at least Lotus got something out of it, so yeah, whatever, right? But anyway, don't forget to vote for next season's team, link is in the description. I also have a second channel where I will be playing all sorts of different games. Right now, I've started a new Let's Play to complement my Need for Speed Underground 2 Let's Play. It is a Let's Play of a game I really enjoy, IL-2 Sturmovik 1946. So if you're interested, there is a link in the description to that as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp.